You're listening to Rise to Your Purpose, a personal and spiritual development podcast for female entrepreneurs with a mission.
We're your hosts, Brandie and Natalie.
In this episode of Rise to Your Purpose, we're going to be talking about something that's kind of heavy and doesn't get talked about a lot in our industry, and that's trauma and how trauma can really impact your business and keep you in a state of self-sabotage and keep you from leveling up. So we're going to address the signs of trauma and 5 steps that you can do and implement to take back your power. So enjoy. Hello, friends and purpose partners. Thank you guys so much for joining. It is storming here, so if you hear some thunder in the background, that's what that noise is. For those of you who are new, I am Brandie Thomas. I'm one of the creators of Victorious Entrepreneurs Rising, the Rise to Your Purpose program and podcast. And I'm really just passionate about helping women of faith build a mission-driven business and create kingdom impact. For those of you who are new to the Purpose Partner community, welcome. And I'm just so excited for you guys to be here. Tonight, I want to talk to you about trauma and your business. Have you guys ever sat down and really just looked at your life and be like, is there underlying trauma keeping you from leveling up in your business? This is a deep question. And a lot of times we don't want to ask that question. We don't want to face that question. But there is definitely a connection between trauma in your life and how successful you are in your business. And you may not even be aware that you are having trauma or experiencing trauma, and that could be the reason that's holding you back, or the root of your self-sabotage. And so tonight I just kind of wanted to bring this topic up and maybe start to bring up some awareness for some of you who are dealing with trauma, dealing with pain, and you're kind of avoiding it or not really addressing it. And so if you're not dealing with your trauma, you may be experiencing one of 2 paths. And here's from personal experience what I have dealt with by not dealing with my trauma. So path number 1 is you may be just going crazy in your business. You may just be like hustling, working, doing all the things, pushing yourself. And you may even be seeing success. But I want to ask you, is that success sustainable? Or are you just kind of running towards your burnout point? Are you just doing things to avoid underlying trauma and avoid really experiencing and sitting with your feelings? Are you using your business as a buffer to avoid facing those feelings and kind of like allowing them to come up, face them, and then release them? So that's path number 1. If you are experiencing trauma or pain of any kind and you're not really dealing with it, you're kind of going down path number 1 of you're just like using your business as a way to avoid really working through that pain or that trauma or those emotions that you may be experiencing. And then there's path number 2, which you're so consumed with your trauma, it's actually hurting you more in the state now. So you're like actually self-sabotaging yourself right now because you don't really have room for anything else. So that you're just kind of consumed in your pain, you're consumed in your grief, you're consumed in your trauma, and you are aware of it. And it's just like you should be doing things in your business, but maybe you're just so consumed that you're just not. You're kind of using your pain as a way to avoid doing your business. So there's kind of those 2 different paths that you can take when you're experiencing trauma and grief or pain of any kind. And so is anybody who's watching this, have you experienced, 1 or 2 or both? I know for me, I've actually experienced both. So when I was really struggling with my infertility grief, I was just like hardcore into my business. That's all I was focused on. That's all I was doing. And I was not allowing myself to feel the pain that I was experiencing with my infertility. And I was just diving into my business and just kind of becoming a workaholic. And that's all I focused on. That's all I did. And then eventually I took myself to a point of burnout where I was so burnt out, I could not do anything except sit in my grief and deal with it and start my path to healing around that. And so that, I've experienced path number one where I've just dove into my business. That's all I focused on. I had success, I was leveling up, but it wasn't sustainable success because I hit burnout, and I had to really step back and find my truth again, find my voice, find that healing, and actually work through that grief to release that. And so I was still self-sabotaging myself, but I was doing it, in a way that it didn't look like I was self-sabotaging myself, because, I was seeing success and I was doing all the things and I seemed happy and I thought I was happy, but underneath it, there was actually trauma and grief and pain that I really wasn't dealing with. And at the end, it still ended up sabotaging me. So I say this because I want to help other women out there that may be experiencing this, because it is really important that we are dealing with our trauma, our pain, our grief. And then I've also been in path number two, and that's kind of actually, to be honest, I've been experiencing path number two recently, where I'm just kind of becoming consumed in my anxiety, my fears, my frustration, some anger, and I've allowed it to consume me at certain times where I wasn't able to really focus on my business and show up the way I want to for my community and my audience. And so, I love, and this is one of the reasons I love mindset and business coaching, because I do believe that they partner so well together. And I have my own life coach, and I was working with her. And so just her bringing up and bringing to light that you're experiencing trauma and you need to release that in order for you to move on, and you need to address it. And so that's why I wanted to hop on here tonight, just because there's so much craziness in the world right now, and there's so much that so many people are going through, and it doesn't get talked about. We don't really talk about our mental health and how it affects so many different areas of our life. And so I just felt called to come on here and share with you 5 steps that you can actually take if you are experiencing grief, pain, trauma, to gain your power back. We are, as women of God, we have Holy Spirit power, and we do not need to be stuck in our fear, stuck in our anxiety, stuck in our trauma. We have a mighty King that can take all of that. He says, come to me and, lay your burdens down. And so here are some 5 steps that I want to share with you that have helped me with moving out of my trauma and my grief and pain and self-sabotage into regaining my power. And this is something that maybe you need to do daily. Maybe you need to do it multiple times a day until you kind of get into that place of feeling empowered again. So step number 1, do some box breaths. And if you don't know what a box breath is, a lot of medical people use this for people who maybe you're having a panic attack or you're in a situation of stress or shock. And this is how you kind of get back into your body. And so a box breath is 4 counts, inhale, then you hold it for 4 counts, then you exhale for 4 counts, and then you hold it for 4 counts. And you just repeat that. So it ends up being a box. And why box breathing is so powerful is because 1, you're counting in your head, so your mind has to focus on your breath work and on counting those numbers. So you can't really be focused on that, the spiraling or obsessive thoughts that maybe you're having. And so box breath is really something that you can do. I try to do it actually multiple times a day because I can get so caught up in things that I almost forget to take deep breaths during the day. And so being intentional about breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhale 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and then you repeat. And I actually like to repeat that 4 times. So That's just kind of my OCD, 4 counts, 4 times around the box. You can pick whatever number you want, but that's how I do box breaths. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is reframing. So questioning those BS stories that you may be telling yourself and reframe that thought. So maybe you're stuck in a pattern of fear or anxiety or what if questions or, I'm not good enough statements in your head. I want you to like reframe, like question, be like, call it out, be like, okay, hey girl, why are you thinking about this? What if that does happen? What if that, is that really a rational thought? And kind of like question those stories that are coming up into your head that maybe you're just like stuck on and you're kind of just spiraling out of control, or they're just kind of consuming your mind. So if you're having these crazy stories in your mind, hey Wanda, thanks so much for joining. Question those BS stories, call them out, take and reframe them, take back that thought and be like, that's not true. Like, why are you even thinking that? Like, thank you, I appreciate you for thinking that, but let's take that CEO perspective, that compassion empowered observer, and kind of step out of ourselves and be like, why are we even thinking that? Like, where is that coming from? And then once you take that power of that story, you can reframe it and flip it and take back that power. And then step 3, you can interrupt your pattern. So if you're feeling stuck in just like this grief, this pain, this trauma, you're just feeling stuck in, hey Beatrice, in just like this toxic negative energy, you can interrupt that pattern, interrupt that negative thinking with music, praise music, with dancing. Maybe it's like crazy stomping up and down, dancing. If you're experiencing like anger and trauma through anger, getting that out and like punching. I worked out today and I told my trainer, I'm like, hey, I need to release some trauma from anger that I'm holding on to. With things that are happening in my world right now. And so just like punching and like doing rope slams and ball slams, like releasing that energy and interrupting that pattern of just feeling trapped or feeling, not empowered. And so taking step 3 is like interrupting that pattern through music, dancing, punching, other forms of physical activity that can kind of just get your mind to switch out of thinking those crappy stories that maybe you're telling yourself. And then 4, anchor yourself in truth and empowering thoughts. So as you're breathing, as you're becoming aware of those crazy stories that are not serving you and you're interrupting that pattern, then you need to come in and replace it with truth. And so Isaiah 54:17 is kind of a truth I'm holding on to right now. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And so my truth comes from the Bible, and I love to use the Bible to armor up and fight against my crazy thoughts that the enemy is trying to use against me. So, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's an empowering scripture that I can use to armor up with. Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Like, find those truths that you can use to armor up. If you're struggling maybe with spiraling out of control with thoughts of self-doubt or feelings of I'm not enough and you're kind of consumed with those, then I really love the Proverbs 31 verses where it says, I'm worth far more than rubies. Or there's another verse that I like to repeat, which says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Those are empowerment truths that I can stand on and that I can fight against those crappy, crazy lies that maybe I'm telling myself. And then step number 5 is meditate or practice mindfulness. This is one thing that my life coach always brings up for me because she's like, you don't let your mind rest. You don't stop your mind. And the Bible says, be still and know. And so taking that time to focus on our breath work, taking that time to do some grounding exercises, like walking barefoot in the grass for a couple minutes and just kind of visualizing being rooted and like your roots are coming out of you and you're being rooted in the earth that God created, and you're just kind of holding on to him and just grounding yourself when you're feeling maybe out of control or you're feeling like you're just spiraling or there's just so much chaos around you, doing some mindfulness practices such as meditation or just like breath work or just visualization, walking in the grass. Those are things that you can do to kind of just ground yourself back into a state of empowerment. So just to recap those 5 steps, number 1 is box breaths, and that's doing the 4 counts of inhale, hold, exhale for 4 counts, and then hold for 4 counts. And I like to repeat that 4 times. And then number 2 is reframe. So taking awareness of what are those crappy BS stories that you're telling yourself, and how can you interrupt that pattern through music, through dancing, through punching, and journaling, like release that trauma, release those feelings, write down those stories in front of you so you can actually take that power back. And then number 4 is anchoring yourself in the truth and empowering thoughts. So I like to reframe my thoughts with Bible verses because that's truth and that's power. That's where my truth and power comes from. And then 5, practicing some meditation or mindfulness where you're just kind of stopping your mind. You're taking back the power, you're taking back that control from spiraling out of the spiraling thoughts that are just like self-sabotaging you. And this is why I love coaching and why I'm so passionate about mixing business and mindset strategies together, because we really cannot move on without overcoming your mindset and your feelings and beliefs that are blocking you. And so if any of this resonated with you and you're feeling stuck in your trauma and you realize you're kind of stuck in avoidance, then I would really love to invite you to book a call with me. I do 30-minute free consultation calls. The link's in my bio. And I can share some tools that will help you not only reveal some trauma, some pain, some feelings that you may be going through, or stories or blocks that are holding you back, but then also give you tools to release them so that you can level up not only in your business, but also in your life. Because we are holistic beings, and our businesses are important, but having an abundant and victorious life that's kind of well-rounded and holistically healthy is also really important. And I believe once you have that, then your business success is going to come. And so I hope this resonated with you. I hope this really reached out and hit the right people that it needed to. I know there's just so much pain right now. I'm experiencing pain for a variety of different reasons, and I'm happy to have that conversation with you. If you want to just chat about, kind of have a little support group, please reach out to me, and I would love to just share in your pain and pray for you, and share some tools with you that have helped me and that have helped other clients that I coach. So I hope you guys have an awesome night, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.
Rise to Your Purpose will be a weekly podcast. Our hope is to inspire and educate you on your entrepreneurial journey to help you fuel your passions, live your purpose, and build a business that works for you.
You can subscribe, rate, and comment on any podcast app. We'd love to hear from you. It makes us so happy to see you tuning in to the show. So if you're on Instagram, let us know what your favorite part of the show was by taking a screenshot of the episode you tuned into and tag us at Live Victorious on your story. Let us know what your favorite quote or takeaway from the episode was so that we can be inspired to keep creating content like this for you.
To learn more about us and get involved with our community of mission-driven entrepreneurs, join our Facebook group, Purpose Partners, where we partner together in faith and business. So until next time, build a business that works for you and stay in alignment with your mission.